The first time I saw him, the sky was on fire. Not metaphorically. The actual sky. A jagged scar of violet light split the clouds above the Nevada desert, and something massive punched through the atmosphere like a bullet made of black glass. The shockwave flattened every Joshua tree for 20 miles and turned the sand beneath my boots into a rippling mirror. I was 27, 3 days into a post-breakup solo camping trip, and absolutely not prepared to become humanity's first point of contact with an alien invasion. I should have run. Instead, I stood there, mouth open, as the object slowed, hovered, and unfolded. He stepped out of a hatch that hadn't existed a second earlier. 9 feet tall, obsidian armor that drank the starlight, a helm shaped like the skull of something that never evolved on Earth. 2 burning white eyes. No mouth. When he spoke, the words arrived directly inside my skull, cold and precise, like someone typing on the inside of my forehead. Designation: Planet 47b, indigenous population, scheduled for termination in T-14 cycles. Prepare for cleansing. Then he looked at me. I don't know how I knew he was looking at me specifically. The helm had no pupils, but the weight of it pinned me harder than gravity. My heartbeat thundered, so loudly I was sure he could hear it through the armor. He tilted his head just slightly. Anomaly detected, he said. 1 life form exhibiting irregular emotional resonance. Explain. I managed to find my voice. You're, blocking my view of the Milky Way. That was the first thing I ever said to the being sent to annihilate my species. I still don't know why I went with sarcasm instead of screaming. His eyes flared brighter. For a moment I thought this was it. Sarcastic human vaporized on the spot. Instead he took 1 step closer, then another, until the heat radiating off his armor warmed my face. Curious, he said. Fear response minimal. Sarcasm levels critical. You are not afraid of death. I'm afraid of a lot of things, I told him. Spiders, commitment, running out of coffee. Galactic genocide wasn't on the list until 30 seconds ago. He stood motionless for so long I started to wonder if I'd broken him. Then, very quietly, coffee. The invasion stalled for 3 hours while I brewed him a cup on my camp stove. His name, he eventually told me, was Kael'Therin Vex, Supreme Eradicator of the Dominion Corps. The Dominion had conquered 2,147 worlds. Earth was supposed to be number 2,148. Easy. Primitive. No match for their entropy beams or reality-fold cruisers. Kael'Therin had personally rendered 43 civilizations extinct. He kept count. He drank the coffee black, holding the tiny tin mug between 2 fingers the size of hot dogs. When he finished, he stared into the empty cup like it had betrayed him. This liquid alters neurochemistry, he said. Induces pleasure response. Why do you waste it on the condemned? Because tomorrow isn't guaranteed, I said. Might as well enjoy the little things before the big things kill you. He left that night without destroying anything. Just stepped back into his ship and vanished. The violet scar in the sky sealed itself. I thought I'd hallucinated the whole thing until I found the mug melted into the sand, shaped like his handprint. He came back the next night, and the next. On the 4th night, he arrived without the armor. Underneath, his skin was pale silver shot through with moving constellations, like galaxies trapped under ice. He had a face then, sharp, almost human, but too perfect, like someone had sculpted grief and called it beautiful. 2 small horns curved back from his temples. When he spoke aloud instead of in my head, his voice was low, resonant, the kind that could command stars to go supernova. I have postponed the cleansing, he said. The Dominion demands explanation. What did you tell them? I asked. That the planet possesses a cultural resource requiring further study. I laughed so hard I had to sit down. He watched me like I was a science experiment he couldn't solve. His visits became routine. He would appear after sunset, sometimes in armor, sometimes not. I taught him how to make s'mores. He taught me the Dominion word for lonely, which took 47 syllables and translated roughly to the feeling a black hole has when it realizes nothing will ever love it back. I learned he had never touched another being without the intent to kill. That the Dominion grew their soldiers in vats and burned empathy out of them before birth. That Kael'Therin had been the perfect weapon until the moment he tasted coffee and heard a human laugh at death. On the 14th night, The deadline, he arrived shaking. They are sending the armada, he said. If I do not begin the cleansing within one cycle, they will send another eradicator. One who will not hesitate. The desert was cold. I gave him my hoodie. It looked ridiculous on him, sleeves barely past his elbows, hem riding up to his ribs. He pulled the drawstrings like they were the most fascinating things in the universe. There's another way, I said. You could not destroy us. They will unmake me. They'll have to go through me first. He stared. You would die for your species. I'd die for a lot of reasons. Bad Wi-Fi. Overcooked pasta. You. Something fractured behind his eyes. He reached out, slow enough that I could have moved away, and touched my cheek with fingers that had ended worlds. His hand trembled. I have calculated 3,892,104 ways this ends with your death, he whispered. I find all of them unacceptable. Then pick door number 3,892,105. He kissed me under a sky full of satellites that suddenly looked fragile. We had 6 hours. Caltheron's ship could outrun anything the Dominion had, but not while carrying 7 billion passengers. Instead, we flew to the only place they wouldn't look for him, inside their own fleet. He called it a Trojan maneuver. I called it insane. We slipped into the Armada, disguised as a routine supply drone. The Dominion ships were the size of continents, all angles and hunger. Inside, corridors stretched forever, lit by cold blue light. Every surface hummed with the scream of conquered worlds compressed into fuel. Caltheron moved like he belonged. I followed, wearing a cloak made from his shed armor scales that shifted to match the walls. We reached the central nexus, an orb the size of a moon where the fleet's hive mind coordinated the cleansing waves. He plugged himself into it with cables that grew from his spine. I watched the constellations under his skin go dark one by one. What are you doing? I asked. Giving them a new target. He uploaded something into the hive mind. Not a virus, that was too small. He uploaded himself. Every memory of coffee, of S. Mores, of my laugh when he tried to say dude, and sounded like a funeral bell. Every moment he'd spent learning what it felt like to want something more than orders. The hive mind recoiled. 40,000 eradicators froze mid-step across the fleet. Somewhere, a Dominion overlord probably choked on its own tongue. Then Caltheron did the most human thing I'd ever seen. He lied. He told the hive mind that Earth carried a retrovirus that rewrote Dominion DNA on contact, turning soldiers into pacifists addicted to caffeine and bad puns. That the only solution was immediate quarantine of the entire sector for 10,000 years. The Armada believed him because he was their perfect weapon, and perfect weapons do not lie. They turned and left. Just like that. A fleet that had ended galaxies simply noped out. We stole a shuttle and ran. For months we drifted between stars, wanted by the Dominion, hunted by bounty hunters who thought dead or alive was a suggestion. Caltheron's body was failing. Uploading himself had burned out most of his neural lattice. He spent more and more time asleep, silver skin going dull. I piloted. He taught me the controls by resting his hands over mine and guiding them like we were dancing. Some nights he woke screaming in languages that predated light. I held him until the screaming stopped. We found a planet no one claimed, third rock from a quiet yellow sun. Blue oceans, green continents, one moon. It looked lonely. We landed in a meadow full of flowers that smelled like rain. Caltheron couldn't walk anymore, so I carried him. He was heavy, but I'd carried worse heartbreak. At the edge of a cliff overlooking the sea, he asked me to stop. I am dying, he said. Simple. Factual. Like he was reporting the weather. I know. I have no right to ask. You want to stay here? He nodded. With you. If you'll have what's left of me. I set him down in the grass. The wind carried salt, and the sound of waves that had never known war. I was supposed to be your apocalypse, he said. Instead you became my world. I kissed him until the constellations under his skin flickered back to life, faint but there. When I pulled away, his eyes were wet. I didn't know his species could cry. Stay, I said. He smiled, the first real one I'd ever seen from him. It looked like sunrise. We built a house out of ship parts and driftwood. I planted coffee trees. He learned to whittle terrible ducks. Sometimes tourists from the next star system over would land, see a 9-foot silver alien drinking coffee on the porch with a human woman painting his toenails neon pink, and leave very quietly. Years passed. His body kept failing, piece by piece. On the last night, he couldn't speak aloud anymore, so he sent the words straight into my mind like the first time we met. I was never meant to love anything. You taught me anyway. Thank you for ruining me so beautifully. I held his hand as the stars under his skin went out one by one. When the last light faded, I buried him under the coffee trees. The next morning they bloomed white flowers that smelled like desert nights and the promise of tomorrow. People ask me sometimes if I regret it, falling for the man who came to destroy everything, letting him rewrite the fate of humanity because he couldn't stand the thought of a universe without my sarcasm in it. I tell them no, because every time I brew coffee I still taste starlight, and every time the wind moves through those trees, I swear I hear him laugh, low, resonant, a little awkward, like a god who learned joy too late and loved it too much to ever regret the cost. He came to destroy Earth. Instead, he saved it. And I gotta keep the mug,